Hi. So, first, before I say anything, just inviting you to take one deep breath with me. Releasing all the tension, all the preconceived ideas, releasing everything that we have absorbed today and just letting it all drop right now. And coming into presence with an open mind, open ears, and an open heart. So, I just wanted to address a specific topic at the moment, which is unraveling, and that is what I see happening, which I believe is something that is important for all of us to be aware of, and there's nothing to be afraid of. I don't think there's ever anything to be afraid of, and that's not the point. The point is that we're rising into our power, and when we rise into our power, we overcome this concept of fear that has been deeply programmed into all of us. So the topic is this idea of the false timelines that are being presented to us. And ultimately it's just so that we can be aware of it, so that we know, and so that we know where we're going. And it's something that I think is very important for us to see clearly. So the Great Awakening is the overall idea of what is happening at the moment. And I've spoken about this a lot. Check out some of my previous videos if you don't know what that is. And I've even developed an online course for your own personal awakening based on the experience that I have learned through mine. So what's happening is ultimately right now in this period of time, we're all going through this consciousness evolution, this expanding of self-awareness, this deeper knowledge into who we are. And the way that it is unraveling is that basically there are a certain group of people that don't want us to go into that expansion. And that can be very obvious for a lot of people. It's basically everyone who is trying to take us into this technocratic timeline. I'll just leave it there. And so really it is for us to be able to see that. And they've been doing this for time now, preparing the field, preparing it all for this moment in time. And everything connects here, everything connects to this now. And yeah, ultimately the awakening is very real. I know this because I have been experiencing it. So the highest knowledge, the wisdom carrier, is when we can learn through our own experience, because ultimately that is when we can apply the practical nature to theories, you know? And it's when it's real and it's practical is when it's real, basically. That's the tangible aspect to things. And so what's happening at the moment is that there is also a false awakening that is taking place, and it comes through lots of different avenues. So basically everything that is happening, there's usually a truth to it. And this is why some of the conspiracy theories are very convoluted, and they can be seen as, you know, it doesn't make any sense, because on top of that there's almost an overlay that's basically explaining what something is, but the truth is actually inverted and it's underneath that and it's something else. And this is happening in many different ways. So the task is for us to be able to be aware and to be able to see this, and as always, heighten our discernment. That is what is being asked of us in this period of time, is to really heighten our discernment. And I feel like I'm going to do a whole separate video on that topic because it's huge. So I will just explain it in this way, because basically climate change is the next big topic that we are going to be bombarded with in the media, in the news, for the foreseeable. You know, obviously it's been really, really crazy this past few years. Since 2020, we're living in a completely different reality, and we're just kind of getting used to it. A lot of people still think they're holding on to the idea of going back to something, but there really is no going back. We've already surpassed that point. So really, it's acknowledging what's happening now, coming to terms with the reality and the truth, and allowing ourselves to see it and not let our ego stand in between and stand in the way, and our mind take over, because this is the awakening into realizing that we are so much more than our minds. We're multi-dimensional beings, in actual fact. So an example of this false awakening and the real one, and it's obviously in so many different things, it's just there's a truth in there, and it's been completely inverted. And what I will say is that at the moment the truth is inverted, and most of the time, if something is in the mainstream and it's been portrayed in one particular way, all you have to do is turn it around, turn it back to front, and you will find the truth. And obviously this is just a generic statement, and it doesn't apply all the time, which is why we have to use our discernment. So yeah, the climate change thing is what a lot of people are talking about. And listen, obviously there is a very real situation that we need to think about. But the real situation that we need to think about is the poisoning that is taking place from these big corporations and these big companies who are doing all sorts of crazy things that is not good for the planet, and it's not good for us. And obviously that trickles down in a way where we've gotten used to living these kinds of lives. So then, yes, there is a way where we can change our lifestyles. Personally, I think that a lot of the time the emphasis is on us as if it's our fault, which again is totally an inversion of truth, because actually it comes from a lot of these big corporations who are doing these crazy things, and a lot of it we have no idea. We have no idea about the levels and the depth of the disguise that has been happening and the poisoning that has been happening. We know a fraction of it. So anything that the media is saying and portraying, you know, we got to be careful because of climate change and this, we got to be careful. In a way, of course, yes, we know we've come so far from nature, and we've come so far from the way that we're supposed to be living, and so far that the whole of our ecosystem is containing plastic. You know, all of this stuff is really not good for us, and there's no separation. It's not good for the planet, it's not good for us. You know, so there's a very real situation to be considered, and a real way where we can start to respect the earth once again. Obviously there are many tribes and traditions who really focus on that, and that is one of the main things that they do, main principles of their ways of life. In the Western world and this globalist agenda is a completely different story. And it's so interesting, because this is why spirituality comes into all of this, into politics, into science, into everything, because it's so important. It's the missing piece of the puzzle, basically. And the awakening is us bringing that back, and bringing that back into our lives and into our remembrance. But basically, a lot of the things that, as per usual, this is literally as per usual, because there's a template that is used, and it's copy and pasted on so many different subjects and topics. And so as per usual, there's, you know, and again, I'm sure you've heard this before, there's a threat, and then there's a solution for the threat. But the solution comes from a specific group of people who have a specific agenda, and, you know, it's kind of a bit distorted, basically. And yeah, these truth pills are exactly what I am here for. It's what I am here to embody. It's what I am here to spit. You know, this is who I am. I am not here for anything other than the truth. So it can be hard for a lot of people to acknowledge. But yeah, if you're tuning into this video, most likely you're coming into alignment with reality. And it has been completely twisted for thousands and thousands of years. So what happens is this template is used. Okay, we need to start doing this because of this threat, which is called climate change. Or we can call it something else, like the poop-demic. Right, and then basically, a lot of the time it makes sense. Oh yeah, that actually, yeah, that makes sense. We should do this, we should start changing all these rules in this specific way. And then next thing you know, you've shot yourself in the foot, and the way that they have been changed actually is detrimental to us, to specific groups of people, and to everyone. Now when it comes to the food chain and the way that the food is, it has a vast effect on the whole world. A lot of food is important between different countries, you know, and we are so reliant on these companies and the farmers to provide us with our sustenance, which is our basic survival. So again, in typical fashion, these people like to play with our basic survival needs to place us into this state of constant fear. So what's coming now is this whole state of perpetual fear around the climate change and how this is so bad for us and we need to do something about it, and it's our fault. We need to do something about it, as well as we need to do these specific things and change these specific rules affecting the farmers and everything. And as we can see already how this template has played out in Sri Lanka and Netherlands, it's actually really, really crazy. And specifically in Sri Lanka, that is the case study. Listen, this whole green movement that happened before implemented all the chemical fertilizers in the first place, right? I don't want to eat food that has been using chemical fertilizers. You know, let's be honest, in all honesty, that is totally not in alignment with who I am. And so it makes sense. Yeah, of course, stop them. But the way that it's done is just done so irrationally and drastically that the farmers don't even have time to educate themselves on how to do it. It's just not that easy all of a sudden just to be able to farm with the natural fertilizers now. It's a whole different ball game when you come to it. These farmers have only been educated in this way, in using that method, for a very long time, you know. There's this book that I read a bunch of years ago now, like 6 years ago, called by Masanobu Fukuoka, this Japanese farmer, and it's called The One Straw Revolution. And it's about this one Japanese father who honed this natural way of growing food, basically by not touching the crops, by just leaving it to do its thing. And obviously you can't, there's a level where you can't just leave it there because it's not gonna, you need to learn how to work with it. But in the most minimal way, he interfered with the way the crops were going. But this took him years to get to understand, you know, through this relationship with the food, with the nature, to understand how to grow this. So it's just not an overnight thing that happens. It just doesn't work like that. And in the way, basically the food system is being completely screwed over now. And it almost seems intentional, and that's probably because it is. In 2020, people were warning already of food shortages. For literally in 2020, people were warning about food shortages because of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. This is a war that we are going through right now. And again, it's amazing to know the truth, but it does not mean that we need to be afraid. All we do is acknowledge, accept, and then we take our position and prepare ourselves and know. And the biggest thing as well is to know who you are. Honestly, it's huge in every single aspect of what that word means, because there are layers to that as well. And so basically, we have to really, obviously you can do what you want, but listen, this is what I'm here for. We have to really just see what's happening, take the biggest perspective, see the long-term view. This is not about short-term thinking. Short-term thinking never got anyone anywhere, honestly. It's to see the long-term view. And again, a lot of people might find it difficult to believe. You know, the conspiracies have been completely blown out of proportion. You don't need to believe that everyone is conspiring against everyone, or, you know, that's not how it works. The 1% is 1% for a reason. You know, obviously 1% is just the term that is used, but 1% of the population own the majority of wealth. Everybody knows that. And it's obvious. And the people who have the money have the power and control. That's also very obvious. So these are the people that are implementing these things in the world. That's very obvious. This one guy that's all over the place talking about all the stuff, you know, it's clear. You don't need any other evidence than what you see with your eyes, what you see, you know, and what you feel deep inside. So, yeah, back to this. The long-term view is, where is this going? Okay? And again, the answers are here. You just got to scratch a tiny little bit below the surface, and it's not even a lot. You know, the rabbit hole runs deep, but some things are just here. And so basically, in that case and scenario, what ends up happening is that something that is supposed to be an amazing revolution for all of us, to come back to nature, you know, to remember who we are, to come back to unity, to eat food that is nourishing and beneficial for us, healthy, wholesome, real, all of these things, right, ends up being twisted into this crazy timeline where they're trying to feed us GMO food and, you know, again, take us down this technocratic route. So it might not be easy to see that in one moment, but zoom out a little bit and you can see that this is the way that it is going. Bill Gates is now owning most of the farmland in the US, and his intention is to create this fake meat, which isn't even real food. Now, in an idea, you know, oh yeah, we need to do something because of climate change, and we need to stop, you know, the meat industry is the biggest cause of climate change, and all of this is super irrational. Honestly, it freaking is. And so many people can see that. Because, like I said, look at these case studies already. What's happening is ridiculous. So what I'm saying here is that this movement has been completely hijacked and turned into something false, and has been completely twisted and inverted. And now the truth is something completely else. But obviously it's not the truth. And so again, it's like, gone here, all you have to do is see what they're saying, twist it, and to see what the actual answer is. You know, this whole concept and idea of changing and converting and moving everything away from nature, which is away from us, which is away from who we are, and into this, you know, technology abundant society, is wild. It's absolutely wild. And, you know, some people might even just think, oh, there's nothing wrong with it. But again, that might be because you haven't necessarily gone deep into figuring out who you are and who we are, this human race. Why are we here? What is it that we're here to do? What is our purpose, you know? Recognizing that the human being is the ultimate technology. It is us, it's already here. We don't need anything else outside of us, you know. And so this is it. And again, it brings in the connection with source, because when you have that connection, you know all of those things and so much more, and you always coming into this remembrance and also into more information, because the information comes from you. It's the technology, you know, that's the way that we were designed. And so basically it's our roles to be able to see what's happening here, to see, you know, who is playing what role, what is their intention, where are they taking this. Obviously a lot of things, sometimes they don't even affect us in a way. It's just theories and ideas, and at the end of the day, people who are in power they're gonna do what they're gonna do, you know. At the end of the day, me saying this video as well isn't really gonna make a difference to that. But to be honest, that's not the point, and that's not the point of the evolution that's taking place now. So again, when we basically, here I'm just sharing what I know and how I see things, and then that can inspire your actions and what you do from this moment forwards. And that is where the juice is, because whatever these crazy motherfuckers are trying to do, and they really are crazy motherfuckers, whatever they're trying to do, it's also fine. There's no need to be afraid, right? It's just basically asking us to step into even more sovereignty. And that is part of the awakening. It's us stepping into sovereignty. Again, that word is used in all aspects: spiritual, mental, physical, 3D, expansive. It's all of the different ways of what that really truly means. And taking back our power, because for so long we were looking out for external influence and external control and external people to tell us how to live our lives and what to do. But this period of time is too late for any of that, because these people are literally taking us down to this downward descending cycle. And if you're just new to realizing that, welcome to the club. I've got a whole online course to support you in this journey, because it's a lot. It really is a lot to anchor in and hold space for. So moving forwards, we know what we can do, and this is something that I've been hearing a lot since 2020, really. And what I see for people who are ready to reclaim the power to stand in sovereignty, it is for us to basically bring everything back to small. You know, what's his name? E.F. Schumacher has this amazing book, Small is Beautiful, and he was an economist, and this is totally where the future lies for a lot of us, and that is just bringing it back to your community, back to real connections with real people, not these entities and corporations, right? And yeah, growing your own food and ordering from local farms. This is how we avoid this crazy doom and gloom and dire situation that is happening in the world, and remove ourselves from being dependent on these these infrastructures that are in evolution and in flux right now. And anyway, you can see what's happening in these other countries in the world. Obviously, it's not necessarily mean that it's gonna happen here or happen wherever you are, but you know, it's gonna happen in some places, right? And still, at the end of the day, our future is where we know where our food comes from. And this is one most important thing to consider, is where your food comes from, you know, and understand that process. Because when we go to the supermarket, it's a whole different story. We just see it on the shelf, and it's so disconnected from food and nature, basically, which also is ourselves. You know, it's all this one system. So anyway, that's just one example. Obviously, the veganism movement is a whole other thing that as well that's been completely hijacked, because in my understanding of veganism, it doesn't mean eating fake meat. It's just not it. This bombardment of fake meat is a complete hijack. That's not what it means. For me, veganism means going back to whole foods, eating fruits and vegetables mainly, and a little bit of seeds here and there, you know, and keeping it really pure and simple, you know, not all this fake, even all the milk and all that stuff, and definitely not eating GMO. Even when GMO came around, I remember when I was young, and this word, and I was just like, what does that mean? And I thought to myself, that doesn't make any sense. And we've been primed for this for such a long time now, this whole thing that's taking us away from who we really are, taking us away from the natural environment. These cities, same thing. And so, and you know, it's not to say it's a drastic thing, or we have to go and move and exit and live in the opposite way, and you know, it's not to say that at all. Slowly and slowly and slowly we begin to ingrain the fundamental values of our beliefs that will shape our lives. That's it, really. And yeah, this food thing is a huge one. The climate change is another bombardment that we're going to see again, that's going to be pumping fear again. That your emotions and your energy is the way that they harvest your energy. So switch off the freaking media. Don't pay attention if that resonates with you. And if you can learn how to transmute the energy, then do what you want. But I think that's also an important thing to do. Learn. Everything works by energy here. So learn, okay, I'm reading this thing, I'm feeling a certain way, you know, that's not my emotion. You know, you're literally absorbing it from this thing as well. Obviously it's yours, it's happening in your body, so it's your ownership. But at the same time, it's like, use your breath to settle into it so that you can release it, so that you don't get caught up in this trap, you know. But also avoid it if that also makes sense for you. And so yeah, basically the fear is nothing that we need to take on. This whole system is founded on fear. The way that we need money to survive, and you know, 1% of the population has most of the wealth is a telling sign that fear is the way that this is run. So don't buy into it. Find the ways that you can move outside of that vibration, because you don't need it, you know. And yeah, know that under each hijack of this situation and timeline, there's always a truth, and there's a real story, and there's something that actually makes more sense. So yeah, make it make sense. That's just the mantra of the past few years, because most of what was being perpetuated in the media made any sense. And it's very healthy if you question it, you know. The point now is question everything. And this is the path. This is the awakening. It's going to send you down different roads. It's going to be a lot of times, it's going to be confusing. It's going to be overwhelming. But that's okay. And we can find ways to ground it into our body and to really acknowledge, accept what is happening in the world. So on that note, yeah, just really, honestly, I just think that we can be smarter. All of us can be smarter. We don't need to fall into their traps. They literally set up the traps designed for us so that we set up our own trap. Because now all of a sudden, yeah, climate change is a bad thing. Oh my God, yeah, we should do what these billionaires are telling us to do. And then next thing you know, we've created the food shortage. We've walked into our own prison cell. You know, literally. And that's how it works. That's the only way that they can manipulate us, is when we follow what they say and what they do. So do us a favor, yeah? And just stop following these crazy people. But first, we obviously have to realize who the crazy people are, because they will tell you that it's people like me who is speaking like this. They will tell you that I'm the crazy one, you know? But all you have to do is tune into your heart, listen, open your mind, open your eyes, and feel, you know? Is what I'm saying resonating? Because sometimes it's not going to make sense in your mind. Mind is going to interpret it and trying to think, and that's not how it makes sense, because it's a lot of the time it's just been trained to do that. But actually, let it sink, let it land. Sit in meditation, ask yourself, ask your higher self, what is the truth? Ask to be shown the truth, and it will come tumbling, because it is a disillusionment, what's taking place right now. And it will come tumbling like a ton of bricks if you're ready for it, you know, and it will all be revealed to you. Nothing is as it seems here in this planet, and we're wisening up to that and not just following orders, because that's just not really how it works, and that's not how we are remembering that it works. So anyways, doesn't matter whatever your beliefs are, just be able to see things in the long term, see things from a wider perspective where you can see all the agendas, you know, dig a little bit beneath the surface where you will be able to connect some of the dots, because they do connect, I promise you, in ways that is going to blow your mind, blow my mind, all of our minds, because the levels of deceit and lies that have been taking place on this planet is unquantifiable. So yeah, on that note, if you need support on this journey, please do head to the website pathway.one. Link is below. And yeah, check out my online course. It's called Awakening 101, A Ninja's Guide to Navigating Your Spiritual Awakening. And this course is literally, honestly, for people who are going through this process, and to support you through this shift and change and evolution. And yeah, I want to just offer it to anyone who feels called. And if money is a problem, that's completely fine. You know, I just send an email and I will send you the audio for free. So yeah, that's it. Be aware of the false timelines that are being revealed to us now, in this moment of time, and know that you do not need to follow it. All that this will do is ask you to step into your power and to claim that, and to claim that back, to claim back who you really are, and step outside of being bullied, basically. That's all. And that is an absolutely fantastic thing. And, you know, for those of us who are ready to do that, this is our initiation, and it will continue to be presented to us in many different ways. This is just one aspect of it. And like I said before, this is a template that's used in so many different ways. So question everything whenever you see more of whatever is being presented. You know, recognize the template so that you will see it straight away. May you find truth, know truth, feel truth, hear truth, see truth, and be truth. Thank you.